This portion of the Power Civil Plans Production course will focus on creating contours in the design file. These contours will be brought in from the Site Modeler program. So we're going to begin on page 1-12, and we'll carry us through to the bottom of page 115. I'm going to go ahead and get into Power Civil and get into my design file called layout.dgn. First thing I want to do, of course, is to make sure that I'm in my model, my project file, and in my site model. So I'm going to open up Site Modeler. I'm going to browse and select my project file. Again, this file was created using the Modeler portion of Power Civil, which creates proposed grading surfaces. And I can see my overall site model here in blue and white, and the grading of it. Now, I want to, these graphics are transient graphics, as you can see when I snap to one. That means they're not permanently part of the file. So now I want to make them permanently part of the file. I'm done with my design and I'm ready to kind of create some plots. So I want to plot these permanently in the file. So in Modeler, under Project, we can export the visualization to the design file. Now, basically the only choice I have is to export the model or the object. So when we export it, what you see is what you get. So when I draw it, when I run the tool, I'm going to see all this line work plotted. So basically before I get started, I need to make sure that what I see is exactly how I want it to plot. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to switch into a different DGN model. So up here on our primary tool frame, I'll pull that out. I want to make sure that I have a models tool. If I don't, I can right click on the tool frame and select it. That'll give me the icon that I want. So then I can click the models tool, and here I want to create a new model, and this model will be where I plot my contours. So a model is simply just a DGN file. In my case, I'm going to make a design model 3D and call it contours. Click OK, and now it switches me into that model. So it has all the aspects of a DGN file. I have levels, and I can draw and place graphics, and those graphics will only be in this model. So I close that, and I do a fit view, and there's my Modeler proposed grading surface there as well. Now, to make it look how I want, I have to do two things. First thing I need to do is bring up my Modeler Model Edit dialog and go to my display model and make sure that my interval for my major and minor contours is how I want. If I want text labels, I need to turn those on, and I need to set that up. If I don't want text labels on the contours, I leave it off. So that's one of the first things I need to do. The next thing I need to do is I need to go to each object. So I go to Modeler, Object, Edit, and I need to check one thing. I need to make sure that on the Edit Object dialog on the Slopes tab that I have Display with Object turned on each object. So if it wasn't turned on, I would toggle it on and I'd click Apply. And I would do that for every object in the list except the temp surface. It doesn't really need to have that done to that one. So every object in the list I would do that to. And then what would happen is I would come over here to Display Objects on my Model dialog, and I would say, okay, let's clip out the objects from the model. And let's view the model with only where there are objects. And then I'd click Apply, and what I'd see is I'd see the contours stop wherever existing ground was. So the slopes came down, they tied to existing ground, and existing ground took off. So what we do is we stop the drawing of the contours right at that location. And that looks more like how I would plot it and represent on a plan sheet. So just the proposed contours. And then of course I have the existing topo already, and I can have that shown or referenced in. So now that it looks how I want, I can close the Edit Model dialog, and now I can go to Modeler, Project, Export, Visualization to DGN, turn on my model, maybe set graphic group, and click Apply. And it will write the contours to the file. So I click OK, close the tool, refresh, turn my display off, or actually just go Modeler Exit and say no. And then the contours are part of the file. So for example, I can snap to one. I can twist them around because I'm in a 3D file. And I can kind of see them. So now that the contours are plotted, then I can go and get ready to create my plan sheets.